What would you do if a complete stranger's awful behavior gave you the power to completely upend their life? In today's story, the choice I made was a masterclass in quiet, surgical revenge. My wife and I had planned a much-needed holiday getaway to Southern California. We booked a room at a beautiful resort, the kind of place specifically meant for mindfulness and meditation, with strictly enforced quiet hours. We were looking forward to the peace. All that changed the moment we stepped into our room and realized the walls were paper thin. We could immediately hear our next-door neighbors in the middle of a heated argument. They were shouting so loud we could make out every single word. The man, who we'll call Arthur, was berating his girlfriend over something she'd said earlier that day. Not wanting to be accidental eavesdroppers, we dropped our bags and decided to go explore the town and find a place to eat. When we returned around 10 p.m., the room next door was silent. We assumed they had tired themselves out and gone to bed. So we did the same. That assumption, it turned out, was very wrong. At the stroke of midnight, Arthur and his girlfriend returned, laughing and talking at the top of their lungs. It was so loud that it felt like they were in the room with us. We could hear their entire conversation as if we were sitting right next to them. Apparently, they had made up after their fight. We then heard the girlfriend mention she was hungry, and Arthur decided to call for a pizza delivery. That's when he practically handed us the keys to his undoing. Shouting into his phone, he clearly announced his full name, his phone number, and then his credit card information, including the zip code for verification. You'd be surprised what you can pick up when someone is yelling their personal data into a speakerphone at midnight. I wasn't trying to listen, but he made it impossible not to. They kept on laughing and chatting, and we heard every last detail. My wife and I tried everything to block it out, earplugs, turning on the radio, but nothing worked. We just kept hoping they would eventually tire out. Arthur, however, was a fountain of boyish energy and booming laughter. This revealed his greatest fatal flaw, his blinding arrogance. He was so convinced of his own importance that he believed he could act without consequence, even in a resort built for tranquility. Finally, at 2 a.m, we gave up and called the concierge. Security phoned their room and told them to keep it down, which worked for a little while, and we drifted off to sleep. That peace was shattered at 5 a.m. by the sounds of incredibly loud sex. His girlfriend was moaning and screaming, and after they were finished, they just kept right on talking at the same volume. As I lay there, sleep-deprived and fuming, I learned all about Arthur's job, his hometown, his political opinions, and more. At 6 a.m., with quiet hours still in effect, we called the front desk again. This time, security came and knocked on their door. Arthur and his girlfriend were absolutely furious. Through the wall, we heard them yelling at security, claiming they weren't loud at all and demanding to know why they couldn't just have some fun. They threatened to plaster the resort with terrible reviews and tell all their friends about the awful service. After security left, they turned their anger on us. We heard Arthur say, "Our neighbors are such assholes," followed by a racial slur. Then, knowing we could hear him, he deliberately raised his voice, boasting to his girlfriend about their night and promising she'd be screaming even louder next time. I was completely frustrated and running on fumes. That's when I pulled out my phone. I decided to record everything we were hearing. hoping to play it for the front desk to prove how poor the soundproofing was and get a room change. But just as I started recording, something else happened. Around 7 a.m., Arthur's phone rang. The room next door suddenly went dead silent. Then, I heard Arthur's voice. Sickly sweet and completely changed. "Hi Eleanor. How are you? Sweetie? I just woke up here at the conference. Long day ahead. I miss you so much." The blood drained from my face. Arthur wasn't at a conference. He was cheating on his wife, Eleanor, over the Christmas holiday. He must have realized we heard that phone call. The thought even crossed my mind that he might knock on our door. Maybe to threaten us or even plead with us to stay quiet. But he did nothing. He was either too arrogant or too stupid to understand the danger he was in. At that moment, my wife and I looked at each other. And a new plan began to form. We had all the information we needed: Arthur's full name, his hometown, his wife Eleanor's name, and the zip code from his pizza order. We opened our laptops and got to work, combing through Facebook and Yellow Pages. Soon enough, we found him, a man in his 50s, with a public profile that matched all the details he had been shouting about all night. And right there with him was his wife, Eleanor. A little more digging led us to where Eleanor worked. And from there, we found her work email address. And there it was. The digital key to unlocking his carefully constructed lie. This is a lesson many people learn too late in the internet age. There are very few secrets that can't be unearthed with a name, a location, and a little bit of motivation. I created a simple, anonymous email address. I compressed the recording from my phone and attached it to the email. The best part was that the recording I'd made captured everything, including the moment Arthur's phone rang and he answered. "Hi Eleanor." She would have no doubt it was him. I hit send. Exhausted but satisfied. My wife and I left the drama behind and went out for a long, leisurely breakfast. A few hours later, we returned to the resort and stopped by the concierge's desk to thank them for their help and formally request a new room. The concierge smiled politely and told us a room switch wouldn't be necessary. "They checked out this morning," she said, her expression carefully neutral. "A few days earlier than scheduled." She mentioned something about an urgent family concern that Arthur had to attend to. Our plan had worked better than we ever could have imagined. The rest of our vacation was blissfully quiet and uneventful. No one else checked into the room next door. Before we left, I did play a small part of my recording for the front desk manager, just so they understood the seriousness of their soundproofing problem. In the end, Arthur learned a hard lesson: your right to have fun ends where other people's peace begins. And sometimes, the thinnest walls can't contain the loudest secrets. So, what do you think? Did we go too far? Or did he get exactly what he deserved? Let me know in the comments below.